Okay, we're good. Do you want to click on it? I'm gonna share it.
Just like start it now.
We're live.
Oh shit.
How do I copy? I don't know.
Control C.
Okay, wait.
Maybe share this too.
Wait, how do you give this to me? Wait, let me Bitly it.
Deactivate it?
I don't remember my password.
I'm second year, I'll be running for your CUS Senator. This year, my mission, my platform, kind of centered around two ideas. A lot of people, they talk about, they talk about the little picture stuff. They talk about the stuff we want to get done this year. Myself, going into the CUS, I'm more of a big picture kind of guy. I think continuity is important. I think that making sure that the great kind of events on this year are able to be run next year. I think that's important. I also think creating opportunity is important. A lot of people, they don't know about CUS because they don't know how the CUS helps get involved. So I think if the CUS can improve and create even more opportunities for people to get involved, then I think that will address a lot of people's concerns with that people not knowing about the CUS, not knowing what the CUS does. So that's my mission. That's what I want to get accomplished this year and for any other year in the CUS. Thank you very much.
Timothy. Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. That's the question. How many of you know interesting people? Nice, good. I'm pretty sure everybody knows at least one or two of you. But what defines those interesting people is how unique and different they are from everybody else around them. So what if I tell you that within the next year, I will provide you with the opportunity to meet at least 5 more people of interesting people, and as well will make you one of them as well. So what I'm planning to do as a senator is I will create a series of events that will host, let's say, 2 to 3 different departments, and Sana is always going to be invited. So let's say, let me give you an example. So there's going to be 100 students invited, let's say 40 solder, 30 architects, 30 lawyers, and you're particularly interested in meeting, let's say, somebody from architecture department. So this way you'll be able to actually go to the event and know that there will be people that you are actually interested in meeting, and they will be interested in meeting you as well. This is my main goal. Thank you very much.
All right.
Could you define the role of senator and talk about how your proposal aligns with what the senator does?
Particularly? Sure. Well, I believe so. Okay, let me start a little from the background. I'm part of the MS events right now, and I was thinking about running for the MS representative as well. But I thought I want to do something more of a academic style. And yes, I know my exact program doesn't particularly define what senators does. So, for example, I'm doing more of a extracurricular. That's correct. For the senator, I'm going to continue pretty much what Daphne was doing. So, for example, working on a sexual assault program, or like Safe Walk, for example. Recently they've introduced the car system driving around. So I'm not particularly interested in changing anything right now. I'm going to maintain what we have. But what I want to introduce is because senator works on the outside of solder, and this is where I think I can implement my idea from outside and engage other players. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Both of you have talked about continuity and external factors. How do you actually ensure sustainability of your role and other impact moving forward? Like, what mechanisms do you have in place?
You want to start?
Sure.
Okay, sure.
Speaking towards the continuity part, a big part of that is making sure that the opportunity for clubs to succeed is there from year to year, and that means making sure that CUS's money is being spent in a way that not only this year and the year that the present CUS is putting money towards events, it's there for the future as well. It means that the senator from last year is on the same page with the senator from this year and down the road, that the transitions for all positions, whether that's AMS reps, whether that's the ombudsperson, whether that's the president, the transition's done smoothly so that even though you might have a different vision than the predecessor or your person who's coming after you, that at least you're all on the same page, you know where each other is coming from, so that we can make sure that other people get the best out of the CUS and the most out of the CUS and the most out of their SOT experience.
Thank you for the question. My way of working on continuity is that I have a few sources that I'm going to use. So for example, the first one and the main one is that I'm part of the CUS, of course. The second one, and that I'm going to rely on, and I'll have a mention that, is I'm part of the MS events. I'm actually a senior volunteer. I've been with them for over 2 years. Maybe you've been to our events, so like Halloween party, block party, for example, or trivia nights, comedy shows, all that. So we have a team of about 60, and we're currently hiring. So we should have about 80 people who are actually will be willing to engage and help me create those events in the future.
Yes, Michelle.
So I know that you both mentioned increasing involvement, which is great, like having new events and stuff. I'm just wondering how or what your plan was to fund that, because I know that this year the CUS went under kind of like a more constrained budget. And so how would you implement that without taking away from other services and clubs?
Thank you for the question. In regards to that, it's all about, trying to create opportunity, but staying within your means, like you say. And so finding new, maybe innovative ways to, every so often, find a way to make some money that the CUS hasn't found in the past. Or you find a way to make an event that's already going on, be more efficient and use their resources more efficiently. So it's not about telling anybody to do anything. It's not about working to try and cut things from people. We're trying to find a way to make sure that responsibly everybody can get the most out of their experience, because myself, I'm a part of the E@UBC student network. And so trying to put on the event that we are, we look to other places for funding. We look to other places for sponsorship. And so making sure that the CUS can still be able to support all these organizations and support all the events is important. And that's what I'm looking to do, is making sure that not only this year, and if I get elected, not only the year that I'm serving, but down the road we can do the same.
Thank you again for the question. My answer, I would have 3 sources that I clearly know I can reach. So first one is, if you might know, there's a UBC bursary that's particularly directed for people who want to engage within the community of UBC. So it's about $1,000 bursary. Might not be much for many events, but maybe 1 or 2 or 3 would suffice. Another source is the workforce source is the one I mentioned already. That's my pals from the NS events. And the third source is usually some sponsor. And I know 2 particularly is Coca-Cola and Red Bull. Not sponsoring anybody, I'm not promoting, but I know for sure that they do provide beverages usually and a financial support within $500 to $1,000 per event. So I think that is something I can reach out of, or the finances out of. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the senators? Awesome, thanks guys. Sorry, stop, Bill.
No, it's good. We'll do it after. We'll do one more.
Okay, ombudsperson. First up, Madison.
Hi guys, I know I don't have a lot of time, but my name is Maddie, and I'll try and tell you a little bit about what the ombudsperson does if you're not familiar. Basically, the ombudsperson is someone that you can go to if you're having issues with either the CUS or with SOTers. So my campaign is centered around 2 words that you don't hear together very often, and that's friendliness and vigilance. Friendliness, I intend to make myself as available as possible, both online and in my office hours. I want to spread the word and make sure people know that my office is somewhere they can come and just vent about their day and eat chocolate. And vigilance, I intend to take initiative in my role as both a member of the Executive Council and the Board of Directors as a non-voting member to make sure that equity and fairness is maintained within all procedures and outcomes so that students have fair say and that what's happening is giving the best good for students. And I want to make sure that people know that they have access to the resources that are available to them within the CUS. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Madison. Cherry Zoo. Okay, thank you guys, and thank you, Maddie, for this introduction of what an ombudsperson is. I was almost gonna ask you guys if you ever know what an ombudsperson is and what they do, but right now, oh, okay, so you guys know now. But unfortunately, there is a universal problem, and not people actually know what an ombudsperson does. So even if we have the resource and we have the ability to help people, people don't come. So my focus as an ombudsperson will be marketing ombudsperson, and I want to let people know that whatever happens to them, ombudsperson is always here for you guys. Thank you.
All right, anybody have a question? No. Okay, I have a question for you guys. So name 2 character traits that makes you a good ombudsperson.
Do you want to explain it? Or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so the first word will be fairness, and that means I want to prevent any discrimination and favoritism among students and CUS. And the second word will be compassion. So I want to be open to all students and students to approach me, and I will be using my critical thinking skill to help them solve problems. And yeah. Thanks. Well, passion for justice sounds a bit extreme, but I guess just like equity, sort of like I'm really equity driven. I want to make sure that everybody is getting access to this. The CUS is so big and so broad that I think a lot of people don't know the things that they have access to. And then the other thing I think would be just openness. I'm not going to judge you if you come in and you have a complaint. I'll use my discretion and I'll make sure that you feel comfortable the whole way, like during the whole process.
So I'm trying to stay out of this conversation.
Yes. Go for it.
Just try to answer the timeline question. Basically, if you were to say,
Can you guys mute yourselves?
Or are you gonna do any advice for you to go out there instead of you? Are you guys gonna make sure that you will volunteer?
So I think that for this question, there are two points. First, being open in person to just be nice to everyone who you meet, both in class and whatever in hallway, and try to approach people and chat with them. And the second point is when people will be intimidated when they seek help. Like it is also always a hard part that for a student to try to open up to another person. So I will be also open for a chat not only on my office hour, also will be available on social media like Facebook and email to help people who are too shy to approach in person. So I know it's difficult to get the word out with resources like this, but what luckily does get a lot of traffic is the Sauder Student Lounge, and that is where the Ombuds office is located. So hopefully if I can get the word out and maybe always have my door open and music going and food in there, hopefully we can spread the word about it that way. And also by partnering with clubs like Kiwi or Sauder Sports to just sort of be involved in their events and just say, hey, this is who I am if you guys want to chat with me. So yes, Maddie.
That's a hard-hitting question. Are you going to continue to supply candy in the office? If so, what flavors?
Okay, so for this question, it will be a yes. And flavor, not only candy, I will also supply chocolates. And whatever flavor you want, it will be there. So these are the questions that keep me up at night. I think definitely I want to have candy in the office. I'm open to your suggestions. Maybe we can do a poll of some kind, but probably maybe something like fuzzy peaches or yeah, chocolate, definitely chocolate.
Yes. So a huge point of contention and source of complaints is the hiring process that we have every spring and fall assignment for positions in the COS. So could you talk to me about contingencies and mitigations when hiring complaints come your way?
Hiring? Yeah, hiring. So like for
So in that, do you mean where could they complain and about hiring?
Okay, so let's say apply to a position, I don't get it, I think the process isn't fair, then
So I think a really important thing about that is, like you said, there are typically two big hiring surges throughout the year, and I think it's important to be proactive about that and get really knowledgeable about the club and maybe ask to see how their hiring process works, so that I can talk to students who are upset about this is the way it works and walk them through that so they have some understanding, and to also make sure that the clubs are aware that somebody's kind of looking over their shoulder and that they know that they have to be equitable in those decisions. So, yeah, if it actually happened and complaint can go through ombudsperson, the ombudsperson will also communicate with you, and we will do analyze why you didn't get in, and we need to think, is this really a process problem, or it is because, well, you are not there yet. But if it is really a problem for the process, for sure this should be this feedback should be given to the club and make progress.
Seeing the current lineup of candidates, I imagine next year there'll be a lot of complaints about the CUS. I see you, AJ. So, how would you say you would go about making yourself as accessible as possible, as well as remaining impartial within the CUS and not maybe favoring the CUS member over a member?
Very good question.
So I think one way is to just be very cold and detached towards everybody in the CUS. I think definitely being a non-voting member on both the board of directors and the council does sort of help to maintain some impartiality. But I do think that's something that's really important, that even we will have to constantly be monitoring that we're not because we're part of the CUS, it's easy to want to look out for the CUS instead of looking out for, or I guess the board of directors instead of the CUS being everyone within Sauder that might have complaints. So yeah, that's something that I'd have to think about. I will say be objective and be fair. Right, so again, fairness, prevent favoritism and discrimination. And I need to always think about being fair and this should, yeah. Right.
And James, last question.
Both your platforms are really hinged on equity and all that stuff. So what are some examples of like explicitly either discriminatory or nepotistic practices that you guys would say are no good? What would you do to counter that? What nepotism and discrimination? What are some examples? How do you fight?
Well, as I said over here, I guess the biggest point of contention, I think, between people and the programs within the CUS are are doing the hiring season, so people are getting hired for a position and they don't really understand why, because it's a bit of a complex process, and when you're on the outside, it's easy to make those judgments. So I think that would be a huge issue that we would have to focus a lot of time on. I'll just make an assumption. For example, right now, every solar student is paying $250 for the solar funding. If one day there's a decision going to be made to increase this amount, I will say this is unfair. Like we need to know what those funding is going to. And for example, there are a part of the funding we're going for free staff, and we would to question why do we want more staff and increase all those fundings, which to benefit the only students who participate and who actually come to use those resources, instead that there are a large amount of people who don't use it but still pay for those.
Give a round of applause for Omar. Thank you, girls. Okay, we're gonna do some trivia for more raffle. And okay, candidates, you may participate now.
It might have been. One of them actually is. All right. So what was the CUS's annual budget this year? Or annual operating budget? $1.4 million. Jennifer? Is that right?
AJ, I know you had your hand up. Do you have it? You had his hand up. Jen?
1.2. The 1.1 or 1.2? 1.2. Yeah, annual operating budget. It is 1.1.
Alex? Alex, can you get a confirmation, Alex? Yeah?
Okay. Okay. Question 2. Name 2 members of the board of directors.
Michael.
Jennifer Sand and Jacob Kim. What?
No. Erwin.
I should continue it.
Yeah.
I'm an answer.
Okay. And did you have more?
Name 5 services.
Okay, show it.
EV, voice, okay, services, right? Yeah, EV, voice, social media, Cavalier, elections.
Yes. Good. Yeah. I was waiting for you to say that. So I was like, is he going to say it? Okay, awesome.
Okay, next is AMS rep. Julian Hart.
But I comment here. So you guys know I'm passionate about the CUS. I'm still the same person if you have seen me. Sometimes I have a few seconds where people look at me and I'm smiling and they don't really get it yet, but it's been getting good. So I'm running for MS rep because I've been involved with everything all over UBC. I know people in all these little areas, and I see at a bunch of events that there's empty spaces and people aren't really getting out to these. And we're putting all this effort into the CUS especially. And sometimes when we have these events and there's things left over and there's spaces for people to have these experiences, it's a little disappointing, especially when we're working with such a big budget. So I want to see a lot more communication throughout the AMS. That includes the other student societies. So if we have an event where we have 30 extra seats, I'd like to see some of those seats go to other faculties and vice versa. So it's not using more resources, but it's just filling the ones we're already using. My name's Julian. So for AMS rep. Thank you.
Simran, shoot.
Hello everyone, my name is Simran. I'm currently in first year and I'm one of your AMS reps. So if you've seen my platform so far, there's basically 3 ideas that I have. It's connect, create, and celebrate. And it might sound pretty cliche, but the substance behind it is pretty important. So let's take a look at the first one, which is connect. There's 2 levels of this. First of all, we need to connect the interest, and that's pretty basic, right? So the AMS rep needs to know about the AMS and also the CUS so they can relay the information that both parties need to know. The second part is a little bit more pertinent to everyone here, and that's how we're going to connect like the actual students. So Julian did talk about how there is like not everyone showing up to these events, and the action that we can take on that is improving the AMS corner that we already have on the CUS website, so CUS students can know exactly what's happening with the AMS and have pertinent information in front of them at all times. Secondly is create. So we've had this idea of inter-faculty events. That's something I want to do. And lastly, celebrating and appreciating that students have different views and surveying so that I know what it is we need to tell the AMS. And for those reasons, I hope you vote Simran for this CUS AMS back. Very nice.
So hi everyone, my name is Zaina Zbeev, and as they mentioned, I'm running for AMS rep. So I noticed that a lot of commerce students don't necessarily know this, about the association between the CUS and the AMS and what the AMS can really do for them. So I'm looking forward to educating commerce students on that, but not only educating them, but also getting them more engaged with these services by expanding the communication channels that are currently being used in the CUS, but also hosting public forums. Another thing I also noticed was that there have been some budget approvals in the AMS, such as for AMS block parties that cause a lot of losses. So I'm looking forward to approving budgets more responsibly as well. And in terms of as an AMS rep myself, I'm hoping to be more engaged within the AMS Council itself and always put new ideas forward. And I believe that these points are the ones that are most needed currently at the time. And so, thank you.
So can I ask the other AMS reps to come back up here? Okay, who has our first question? Sam.
So the AMS role is really pretty broad. As you've all mentioned, you have a lot of initiatives you want to take into account. How are you going to select specific criteria to prioritize initiatives in your role?
Because the role is so broad, it's kind of up to the AMS rep themselves to choose which committees they want to be part of in the AMS. So like personally, and for my platform, I want to look at the student life and community communication committee, right? And you can join the specific committees to make those things a reality. And because it is broad, I think that there's a certain level of autonomy we have as reps to choose what it is we want to do. And if you look at my platform, I talk about just like having Facebook posts on your personal page where you have like thousands of friends to ask questions. I mean, relatively, I think most people in Sauder have like close to 1,000 friends. Anyways, asking pertinent questions like just in a status and getting an answer. Wow, I can't talk. Getting an answered information that way.
So what I want to really do is start reaching out to the other undergrad societies within the AMS so that we can have a system that's a lot easier for this to happen, so we can actually get these events connected with the students. So I don't really want to be working on single events or small little things, but more putting in that system so that when we have 30 tickets, the club comes up, we get them filled in 3 days. And we can do that by spreading that out and marketing to people beyond just the CUS and hit more of the students within the AMS. So I want to see a broader scope and have that working down through all the undergrad societies.
So as Simran mentioned, it's pretty broad, but I look forward to speaking with all of you guys and making sure that I understand the student needs at the time in Sauder and making sure that those are represented in the AMS. So that will be my focus. But I'm also hope to sit on the budget committee, so that's another focus.
Michael.
I was just wondering, how do you feel about those who are how would you change that in the word?
So currently, I feel like students are not really aware of the association between the CUS and the AMS, and definitely there could be we can expand on that, and whether it is channels of communication or public forums. But I also feel like AMS representatives can be maybe more vocal. So that's what I'm planning to do, and like really making sure that new ideas are being put forth, and that new actions are being taken.
Right on. So she said it really well, which she wanted to talk about the communication issue, and I mean that is the number one. So personal posts are great, but if you really work on it, you can meet a new person every day in Sauder, and there's really cool people. And I mean, I've built this network at UBC when I had my hair. It was really easy, and now I have people I know in different places that want to go to random events. So if I know something, I know the person, I send it out to them really quickly, and they go and they get that extra surplus to their degree. And I want to keep working on that, especially within Sauder, and keep broadening that throughout the AMS and working with that culture so that I can directly help individuals at some points when there's events that I hear about. Because sharing things is really great, but filling them up with individuals that actually get there and start to build that. It's like take it from a big area and help other people start connecting by getting them out.
Yeah, I agree with basically obviously everything that's been said so far. One of the specific things that I know can be improved upon right now is I do agree that people don't know about these AMS events, and there is a page on the CUS website that we can like put AMS events that we think are going to be pertinent to Sauder students. But even on top of that, like Julian was saying, like I mean, I wear a bandana. Sometimes you can see me walking around like literally wearing glittery boots and like a silver jacket. So for me, like personal connections is really important. I was saying bringing it back down to like my own personal Facebook and not just like broader, and just like making those connections one-on-one so you can build a larger network, and advertising the fact that the AMS is a thing that's involved with the CUS so people just get to know, and from there like building that network outwards I think is really important.
Yes, Jim.
Sure. Two committees that I'm looking forward to joining, like if I am elected, is the governance committee and then student life and communications. The governance committee is really important because it takes a look at the actual AMS structures. And I think in order for an AMS rep to serve the CUS properly is being able to understand how the AMS works. So if I sit on the governance committee, I can truly understand what it is the AMS can do and what I need to do in order to accomplish Sauder's goals. And that way I can have that understanding. And the second point I talk a lot about on my platform is I do have a big interest in like inter-faculty relations, and the student life and communications committee is the one that can make any type of networking events between faculties a reality. So those are two that I've looked into so far, and I think are really pertinent to Sauder right now.
Student life and budget. You guys heard my last campaign. You know I'm passionate about the finances of undergrad societies, and I want to make sure that those dollars are really going in the right places. Student life is also a pretty big part of my life, and I'd like to see that brought to life in everybody through the event. So working on, again, communication and responsible usage or very efficient usage of the money and creative solutions through that is what I want to bring to the AMS.
So as I mentioned, I am also looking to sit on the budget committee as well as the student life committee. As Vice President of Finance of the UBC International Students Association, I got to advocate for lower tuition increases for over 50,000 international students. So for that reason, the budget committee is definitely the main committee that I would point to.
So historically, developing inter-faculty relations has not been the easiest thing to do. So can you concisely pick one primary point of focus to really alleviate that?
So you're talking about how we can actually live up to the promise of increasing interfaculty relationships and maybe get rid of that snaky. Yeah. So I've been thinking about this. I'm going to some of the AUS events and the SUS and LFSUS. I'm seeing really cool things. So I've met a lot of the people that are running them and are currently running them anyways. So I have those connections, and as soon as this is moving forward, I want to reach out with them and start to build that connection where we can actually switch tickets, or at least communicate the events through them so we can broaden the scope of the marketing in our events and their events to fill them up.
I think Sam, one of the biggest reasons that there is this like disparity and why it's been hard is because no one else has the capacity that the AMS rep does to build these relationships. So the extent to which the AMS rep can make relationships with people from other faculties is very large compared to other people, right? Because you're going to those council meetings and you have direct contacts with people from each undergrad society. And I think that is the reason that like all of us up here will be able to have, to make those events a reality because we have the direct people we need to talk to. That's why I think this position is the one that can, make that a reality, as I said.
Yeah, follow up, yeah.
So you guys have all events and all these cool things. Where do we get the money from that? We're so constrained already, let's stimulate our budget. How's that fit into the equation?
So I think there's a few layers to that. Like we've had conversation about budget already, and I think there is, an idea of like finding the money that we haven't accessed yet in terms of getting different sponsorships and looking at different bursaries, but also like maybe just fundraising. I think another part is sitting on the budget committee that we talked about. We'll have the capacity to do that. You can get a greater understanding of where money is going and look into it that way.
I honestly don't think it needs to cost any money. We have the events running, and there's a lot of them that are not full. So if we can fill those up, they've already been paid for, get the students there, or reach out to the AUS, the reps, or people even within them. You don't need to get to the top. You don't need the formal people. You just need the students that are all members and are all asking us to do that job. So we can fill the events that already exist, and then we'll have that solved. Bring people in here, bring people out there, and then maybe that solder snake bait won't be so big.
I agree with what they both said, and that events are already taking place. So I think the focus should be on trying to fill up those events.
So now we're going to speak. If you guys have a question, we're going to let you guys use the microphone so people on the screen can hear you.
Hi, I have a question. So, you guys all mentioned that you're going to encourage more students to come to AMS events. How are you going to, other than using your own personal Facebook pages, how are you going to make sure that SAR students are aware? But most of the time, even just for COS events alone, it's hard to get anyone aware of these events.
I mean, people have been talking about putting it on the website and using COS Facebook pages, and I honestly don't think that is an option. It's clearly not working. So the personal page is where I think we can actually differentiate our approaches and meet the individuals and meet the groups that actually want to go there and build our peer network. I think that's really going to see the strongest, the quickest results. And once we have people going to these events and meeting those other people, the friend groups just kind of happen naturally.
I mean, yeah, that's something that I agree with. I think there's two levels, and I think they're both worthwhile. So I think the first one, like I mentioned a few times, is if it's not there yet, building up the AMS corner and the COS page to make it more prominent. And you know what, using your personal capacity to advertise that more. And I do think it's really important to also just bring in everyday people that you meet and really like telling people that there even is an AMS rep and telling people that there are these ideas. Furthermore, I think boothing is a great way to like get people to know about these events because everyone walks through CPA every day and all it takes is a few balloons for people to, and some food and like Yep, once again, I feel like we can all agree on the points that were set so far. Okay, it's echoing. I think your question.
It's on, it's on.
Yeah, I think just like the budgeting would probably is a good idea to look at for events that big, taking a loss.
If it's currently hosting or you would like to promote to our students that are happening already. So, wanted to know. Quick 30-second answer.
So the AMS is fun. They're giving an area for all these clubs. There's more than 300 clubs that are doing their events weekly, and Blank Vinyl Project is one of them that I went to. They have free snacks. They have cool people. There's what else? There's the AUS, which is slightly unrelated.
Take more all the resources. I really believe that as AMS,
Hi everyone. Let me know when the timer starts.
Sorry, what did I do?
Hi everyone, my name is Daphne. In the past 3 years, I've been very involved, so you might have seen me before. I've been involved in YWIB, UBCMA, BizTech, and CUS as a part of Senator and as the chairperson of the board of directors. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming tonight, not just the audience, but also the candidates right here, because it takes a lot of effort and courage. Oh, except Maddie too, because he's a living meme. Yeah. So this is my 4th campaign in 3 years. And a lot of people have been like, oh, this should be a piece of cake too. But in fact, it isn't. It's quite nerve-wracking. And I hear a lot of people talk about the CUS elections and talk about how it's like a popularity contest. And in some aspects, it is. It has to be, because we're out here putting ourselves into the spotlight, asking you to vote for us. But I believe that a lot of these votes are made with thought, a lot of informed decisions, because why else would you be spending your Wednesday night at 6 p.m. listening to me talk? It's because you want to make an informed decision. And everybody watching the live stream right now, too. So I want to start off with kind of a story. In my 2nd year, I came out of the CUS feeling really grateful and indebted to the CUS. And the reasons why is because at some point of my time at Sauder, I felt really alone and I didn't feel like I was included at all. But in just 2 school terms, everything changed for me because of the CUS. I had new opportunities, new relationships, new experiences that I never imagined that I could have. And it was all because of the CUS. It changed everything for me. And the CUS are where I found my roots. The first time I found a home in Sauder. And that's why I'm running for CUS president. Over the years, I've listened, I've shown up, I cared, and I will continue to do that as CUS president. My promise to you is that I will try to find the value that you crave and help you support you. My mission is to bring you, the student, to the forefront, because you are the most important part of this school. Your student experience shouldn't be one size fits all. Tonight, you are all making a very important decision that will change the next school year, and I hope you make that vote count. Thank you. Thank you, Ashley. Next up, Debbie Pye.
Have you ever found yourself? Oh, look, it's the PA1, like pie. Sorry. Do you ever find yourself always taking the old path, the old unconventional, the old path when you reach challenges and uncertainties? I have. And I'm guilty of it. But I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to do. In fact, it's quite efficient. But if we always take the same ways and do the same things year after year, then we're not able to grow. Today, speaking in front of you, I took a step out of my comfort zone. I take up a challenge to make CUS, the Sauder community, and everyone at Sauder have a better experience in university. Three of my big projects in this upcoming year is, first of all, to create a CUS app, and second, to have more better relationships with our Sauder alumni network. And last but not least, I want to enhance our relationships not only with other specializations within Sauder, but outside of Sauder, I want to extend our reach to other faculties. We as Sauder act as one team, and to the people outside of Sauder, we can show them that we're not all Sauder snakes. With all these three initiatives and many, many, many more to come, I want to have the best for all the students at Sauder to create a good and great, a memorable, lasting experience for all of you guys. I want you to have a great experience here at Sauder, but also in the workforce. And through the CUS, through extracurricular activities, you'll be able to experience difference, to have chances to do have innovation projects, and also step outside of your comfort zones. CUS is family, and I spent my 2 years at Sauder, 3 years at Sauder, but 2 years within the CUS, serving as a third-year rep. And I want everyone to know that UBC should be one family together, and that within Sauder, outside of Sauder, we can always make change wherever we go. Thank you so much.
And lastly, Catherine Pan.
Hello. Okay. Can everyone hear me without the mic? Is it better? Okay. All right, live stream. Okay. Can you let me know? Sorry, when the times. Hello, everyone. So hope you're all having a good day. My name is Catherine Pan. I'm the current CUS VP Academic, and I'm sure you all know by now why I'm up here right now. I'm running to be potentially your next CUS president. So I really thought for a long time about what I was going to say today, and I really thought I could go on for hours about why I joined the CUS, or why I want to be CUS president, or I could stand up here and try to talk about my qualifications or convince you that I'm somehow worthy of taking on such a role. But what I really realized I wanted to talk about today was rather what I have to offer or what I want to bring to this US next year, and my vision for that and how I plan to deliver as well. So a lot of the inspiration behind my platform this year was simplicity. I really wanted to break down the barriers of the buzzwords and really just show you what I had to offer, and that was broken down into 3 key points: students, advocacy, and internal infrastructure. So I really want to bring it back to bringing events in for Sauder for all types of students. And I wanted to bring our alumni back into our community as well, and also empower our students to go out there and go explore external organizations at UBC to find their community wherever it is that it may be. Furthermore, the CUS is also a key point of contact for all the different organizations across campus, including students to faculty, students to the AMS, students to other clubs out there. And I really think that we have an obligation as an organization to act as that voice and advocate for things that you might want to see. For example, did you know that the intention behind Work Learn Wages was that it was supposed to be double minimum wage when it was introduced, or that we all pay $500 to a building user's fee? And I want to know, for example, where that money is allocated so that we can get the most value out of the money we're paying to the school. Or, for example, that it's been about 5 years since we had a BCom review of our program, and we deserve to have the education that we pay for by having our program updated from year to year by faculty. Furthermore, for me, what's nearest and dear to my heart is internal infrastructure, and I want to be able to work on things that will strengthen us internally as an organization so that we can deliver on all the amazing opportunities and deliver on all the amazing promises that we do promise to students every year. So things like standardizing HR transition documents, our corporate relations team, alleviating financial burden from service council executives, all of these things are things I want to do. So if anything I've said resonates with you at all, I highly encourage you to ask me any questions during the Q&A. Thank you.
So before I get all the candidates back up here, or the presidential candidates, we're going to do our raffle draw. First one for Starbucks. The next one.
And the ticket.
Okay, the number is 71270. 71270. Okay, we'll have all the presidential candidates come back up here for question period. And we'll do the other raffles later. Okay, who has the first question? Sam. Oh yeah. Use the mic.
So my question is about quality assurance. You guys have brought so many ideas to the table. How do you ensure that, over time we've seen some projects being efficient, poor allocation of resources? What proactive measures are you going to have in place to make sure that your projects that you outline are actually efficiently, using? Aside from budget, campaign planning, whatever, actual measures.
I can talk about quality assurance. So in terms of clubs and conferences, if you've seen my website platform, one of my biggest focus is on support and maintenance for clubs and conferences and services, because I feel like they're the most important parts. And in terms of quality assurance, I'm looking at term reports for all clubs so that every term we see exact results with data to know exactly how well they've been doing, how much membership has grown, and what exactly the year round breakdown is in terms of their membership. Things like that for a club, for example, is really important. For conferences, I feel like for quality assurance, we have a lot of different ranges and qualities of conferences that we have currently because of the different sizes and different historic importance that they've had. So we have some conferences that just are new, quite new, like SEC, but you have conferences that have an established relationship, like NSCC. And so in order to make sure that their quality is equal throughout, I think it's really important to also have a pre and post conference presentation. So before conferences start, they usually come in for a quick presentation, letting us know what they're going to do, day of logistics, etc. But we don't really have feedback on what happens after these conferences come back. And so a part of my platform or my mission statement is hopefully by ensuring consistency that these conferences come back, we can ensure that what they're doing is, and what the resources that we're giving them is actually working out for them. And so that's what I plan on doing for quality assurance.
For quality assurance, I think one of the really important things is communication and getting feedback from all the clubs and conferences. So the idea that I had for the COS app, one of the features would be having like events and calendars coming out, so that when it happened, people can go up and rate the events, rate the conferences, and leave feedback as they attend and throughout. So then that would be the data that we'll have. And throughout the whole process, I want the COS team to be engaged in the planning process, in helping out and giving support to whatever conference or events or anything that these clubs and services need. And I believe this will serve a really great process for everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, so just wanted to clarify your question. This is quality assurance, more to do with our services and things that we offer?
In general, actually.
In general, okay. So I guess like to answer your question, accountability reports, yes, like more FaceTime with everyone, yes, all of those things, yes. But I also think that it really comes from a place of mentorship and empowering your team to be able to know how to deliver on those promises. And for example, like as a VP as well, like being more involved with your services and checking in on them and just being willing to like do that grunt work as well. And as like, for example, a president, empowering your VPs to do those things are really important. In addition to that though, I think that it's really important to collect feedback and to look at all of those things once we do deliver on events and conferences, but also to take a more proactive approach versus a reactive approach in making sure that all of our events are as they should be by just being more involved in the process and hiring the right people who have the background and the experience to be able to support those individuals in those roles. Yeah. Who's moderating? James.
So you guys all have pretty decorated paths to the COS, so you guys know it pretty well. And I'm sure you know it's far from perfect, so I'm wondering if you guys would be willing to disclose maybe one, let's say, ugly truth about the COS the electorate may not know but should know, and what you guys are doing to counteract those.
Very good question.
As a board member for 2 years, I think something that not a lot of people think about when we're up here, when you're sitting in that seat, is there's a lot of words that are being used like, oh, helping the community. But being in the CS for 2 years, I realized that there's something else that's really important. And it goes on with also looking for student experience as well. Because even though you're in the CUS, you're also still a student. And for me, something that is an ugly truth is that most of the time people, especially board members, they step in and they don't know what they're doing, or they don't have a clear idea about what they want to accomplish in this year. We try to mitigate that with passion projects, and I've been helping with that this year. But for me, I also think it's really important for the board members to really have a say in what they want in terms of job description, and being able to let them support the other services and conferences and clubs happening in other ways too. Not just being like, oh, this event is happening, but also be a part of perhaps promotion process so that their input is really represented and that they're also here to represent the year round. And for me, it's a conversation with the board members, letting them know, asking them what they want out of this experience in the COS in terms of value. Because I believe that if they're happy and they're doing a good job, you guys will also be really happy and you guys will actually feel like you're represented.
Can you please repeat the question, James?
What are some, maybe like an ugly truth or two that the electorate may not know about the CUS?
Okay.
And should know, and what do you plan on doing to solve that problem?
From my experience, I feel like the COS, or like the people in the COS, are kind of stuck in the COS bubble. Whether it's events or conferences or anything, they tend to just use the same method of promotions to
to the outwards to the student. They don't take the extra step, or they don't have any new methods of doing it. They just do the posters, the usual Facebook event page, but then that's not the whole reach. Sauder is so much bigger. There's people who are focused on other things who've never really heard of these events. So then maybe there are other ways, other means that we could reach out to them. So I think the biggest thing that CUS needs to improve on is to find more creative methods of doing things and to be different and to grow and learn from this year and be better the next year.
Yeah, so I guess to begin, I am not exactly the type of person, if you know me, to beat around the bush. And essentially, if you've been in the CUS this year, you know that there have been difficulties throughout the year, and it definitely hasn't just been like a smooth ride all the way through. What I do have to say about that, and perhaps like the ugly truth of the CUS, as you would put it, is that we're all people and imperfection is inevitable, but this year perhaps that was taken, and what I really felt happened during my experiences with the CUS that was truly the ugly truth was that when things got tough or when times were difficult, I personally felt that sometimes the culture just wasn't there to bring others up. And I think a lot of people have trying to make sure that the organization was going well, or we were the ones that were the martyrs and that we were working so hard to make the organization what it was or trying to bring it up. But what I really learned from this entire experience this year was that one person doesn't make the CUS, and it also doesn't just take one person to bring down the CUS. So I think for the future as well, really instilling that mentality that like we're all a team, we're all family, and we succeed as a team and we also fail as a team is really important to remember for the future, to just support everyone and hold each other up. And I think that's really important.
Can I have something to add to that?
Okay. So I think one of the major problems in regards to what Catherine was saying too is because there's not a lot of continuity. We have 100% turnover, as you can see. There's almost all new faces, including the execs. And another issue on top of that is because culture can't be continued if there's 100% turnover. And also, we have a lot of ways to try to get feedback from students, but because we're, once again, turnover is 100%, not a lot of that data that we get gets retained, and so we can't really see growth the way we need to see it. And for my mission, I'm hoping that, I already spoke to the BCC and the UGO about this, but I'm hoping that we can come together with the faculty and with the school, and not just with us as a student, to kind of retain that information, and so that this information continues, and so that we can actually see a macro level of like what growth looks like consistently.
Okay, who hasn't asked the question first?
Alright,
Do you wanna?
Yeah.
Come up here, just so. Okay, you say it. We'll repeat the question.
So this question is kind of based off of Catherine's platform, but I think we can generalize it to everyone. You mentioned that your platform that you wanted to bring this tech conference to Vancouver, and I was just curious on everybody's thoughts on bringing in new initiatives versus strengthening initiatives that we already have. E-projects and this tech have been working a lot in this space, and I'm just curious like where you guys feel the balance is between bringing in something new versus working on the stuff that we already have.
Okay, so the question is largely focused around finding that balance between bringing in new ideas and also keeping the current portfolio of offerings we have and like leveraging those as well and growing those and putting our resources into them. Yeah, so I guess I'll start by maybe addressing like the tech conference part of my platform, and then we can talk more generally about your question as well. So with the tech conference, I have to say, if you do read my platform at the end, I did mention that it was something that I had as an idea or I wanted to bring to the board for at least discussion. And I think the rationale behind that was really where I saw there was like an opportunity for us to pursue something like this, or there was some sort of need, or there was like a pool of resources available to us that we could tap into that would probably address a few things like intercollegiate relations or tech in the industry, or jointly funding a conference and alleviating that budgetary constraint that we experience with a lot of our services over here. So that's where my heart was really coming from with that idea as well, because I was approached by CUTC, for example, to explore something of that nature. By no means is it something we have to do. Of course, it's all about student interest, but my mentality was really finding those opportunities that arise and really seeing if we can leverage those. So I think that really goes into your question in general about finding that balance as well. And I can address that actually with another part of my platform. So for the past year, one of the projects that I've been working on is the CUS internal audit. And I've already set the groundwork, put together a committee, and have gone through multiple discussions about it. And really the purpose of this committee is to continuously assess what we're bringing into our space and also what we're offering each and every single year, so that we're able to correctly and more fairly allocate our resources to deliver quote unquote little fluffy but the most value to students. And that sort of thing is one way we can explore it, but another for me is to just look at the opportunities that we have and the different avenues that we have out there that we can pursue, and seeing if that's something students are interested in. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit.
Are you talking about this, the tech conference only, or conferences in general?
Well, we're talking about the tech
Yes.
conference, but I guess in general, bringing new opportunities versus bringing
Okay.
stuff that we're
I think it really depends on what kind of opportunities you're bringing into the CUS, to Stoddard for the students. If it's too similar to what we already have, then I'd rather it not be coming in, because then it will be cannibalizing what is already existing. But if it's something new and you know that there is a market for it, then definitely I would fully support it.
Thank you. So being in the CUS for 2 years, something that I've noticed about during a lot of campaign time is a lot of people talk about innovation, change, bringing something in new. But being in the CUS for 2 years, once again, what I've found that is the most value of the CUS is not us handing out agendas, not us giving you razors. The true value is in, those are good things. The razors are expensive, but but it's really the club services and conferences that the average student might not know or even care what the future president is or who the board members are. But it's really important, and I bet you that any average student has been to a conference, been to a workshop, been to club, and seen boosting happen in the CPA hall. And so instead of bringing in something new, I want to focus on really maintaining and supporting these conferences so that they don't just feel like they have to fight against something that is bringing new that might target smaller markets, but also that they feel that there's support in that as well. And in addition to that, I'm hoping that, for example, for clubs, or even for conferences, that during the summertime when we have a time for these conferences to come in to ask for CUS affiliation, they also have a chance to talk and discuss with one another to see where there's room for collaboration. So that, because value is added for students when we work together, because we're a community. That's it.
Okay, we're gonna go to Jennifer first. Can you guys try to, I know it's hard, but try to keep it concise, 30 seconds.
Cool. This is more of a almost follow-up to the previous question, but the CUS has implemented a couple of new things this year itself. Monthly topics, CUS coffee chats, etc. What are some things that you feel as you would like to continue to sustain for the next year moving forward?
I'm sorry, I have to keep it short, but I think the monthly topics are a really good idea because it gives board members a chance to have ideas and subjects to talk about, and it keeps that there's the overall theme for the CUS. That each month students have an idea and there's almost a united front about what we decided to discuss with them. And I also think that it's important to maintain accountability reports, not just for execs, but also for board members, because you gotta keep you guys accountable too. A lot of students, you guys come in, and for me as well, I put this on my resume, and I want to be able to I want to be able to say that I did actual changes, that I did make an impact, rather than, because having the title second year rep really means nothing if you don't have substance to back that up. It's not going to be you guys, so don't worry.
To tell you the truth, I actually don't have an answer for this one because I've been fairly apart from the CUS, the Sauder, for this whole year for being on co-op term. But I think there are some great initiatives happening, and I see the CUS being more organized in terms of marketing, showing that how events are organized, and when there's more events for Huey, and I'm very, very glad for that. I'm going to keep everything that's working well in the CUS and running, and have more great things and add to students' value in the upcoming year. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, so I really like the coffee chats as well, and I think I really like the idea behind them, which is to have more face time within the organization between students, executives, board, and service council members. So I'd like to continue with the coffee chats, but also build on that. And I've proposed semesterly general meetings for the CUS throughout the next year. And what those are is they're open to the public, they can be built upon from our coffee chats. And for example, it's a time when we get to touch base with everyone, stay accountable, learn about what's happening in the CUS, and just continuing to build upon the idea of the coffee chat as well.
Okay, we're gonna take one more quick question and then we'll go to this online stream questions and then we'll come back to you guys. So
earlier Debbie mentioned that the current methods to promote the CUS are inadequate and that we need more creative methods to promote the CUS. So I was wondering if the other candidates agree with this, and if so, what are some methods that you just propose to promote the CUS?
I think it's less about promoting CUS, but promoting the services and clubs and conferences that are under it. And I think one of the most, like being at this tech this year, we're selling Blueprint conference tickets, and like one of the most, one of the most valuable things that I've recognized is not just like Facebook promotion, social promotion, but rather having that genuine connection and talking face to face with somebody that really enables you to realize that whatever they're talking about, if they have that experience, that it's of value. And that's the personal connection that I'm looking for, because at the end of the day, I'm a student, you're a student, and we're just trying to make our school better.
I also would agree with Daphne with personal connections. So last year, I ran the CCP Burn University musical, and what we did was we actually, so for those of you who don't know, it's a musical, it's a fundraising musical where people dress, and last year's theme was to be with cyclones and like ghosts and the Grimmer. And so we had the Grimmer, we had like the Headless Horsemen walking on campus in their costumes and then putting their character and then try to interact with people. And this resulted in a lot of attraction. We got lots of people, and then our night fundraising event, it was sold out within a week. Things like this, or even digital marketing methods, things that are more than just posters, because posters are everywhere and you don't really pay attention to posters when you walk by the hall. A few is effective, but if you see a whole board of posters, unless you're looking for them, you won't really find value in them. Thank you.
Yeah, so I really think that having been in the CUS for a couple of years now, our marketing channels get more and more elaborate every year. For example, this year we added the stickers, last year we added the Snapchat, we've always had CUS a few Sundays from the year before. We have our website, we have email blasts, we have so many channels that I really think it, like the new board as well, like you're interested in promoting in more creative ways. I think it's a great passion project to take on too. But I also think it's more about what we're promoting and also our group effort to promote it. For example, I think if there was more solidarity within like the board and exec to always like promote events, for example, I know the execs, we all just did like a push for NSCC ticket sales today. So things like that where it has a big impact are really important. Yeah, I think that's pretty much.
We're going to take an online question from Tim. What's a personal weakness you fear will impact your presidency, and what will you do to address that?
I think I'm a person, like all the people that know me know that I'm really outgoing, but also that I'm a person that takes a lot of feedback, and I'm always thinking about things that I could do better. And sometimes it's not always a good thing because you get caught up about, like during this election time, it's been quite stressful for me and probably stressful for these two as well, because it's hard because you're putting yourself in front of other people to probably critique, probably to ask why they should vote for you. And for me, like I feel like what is going to be interesting is listening to the feedback and filtering out what is truly constructive feedback, and also coming to terms with my own, as you know, I'm human, and my own insecurities, and working to build on that as well. And an extension of that, like hoping that with the board, hoping that we can grow together because we're all students and people at the end of the day. And I really want to support that kind of growth. And yeah.
I would say one of my personal weakness is to want to do too many things at once. I have so many great ideas, but then I need the help of the board to help me decide which one is the best and which one to go forward with.
I think a recurring theme throughout my life has been paralysis by analysis. So I really do get stuck in the details sometimes, and I really get stuck planning things out. And for example, Sam and I, we've worked together. I don't know how many times we've sat in a room with like a whiteboard for like 3 hours. But I really do think that it's something I challenge myself to do now, to always set out like key deliverables that I should like finish by X date, so that I'm always moving ahead with my projects, and that's something I try to do all the time. Yes.
My question is about the CUS app that you're promoting. Now, as business students, it's very easy for someone to say, oh, I'll just make an app, right? But realistically, apps are very expensive and most of them rarely succeed. So could you defend how it would justify, firstly, the cost? Apps are immensely expensive. And secondly, how it would justify the effectiveness. How is it going to be more effective than things such as Facebook, which we use for free and which we're able to publish and promote things, or such as weekly newsletters and emails? How is this app going to be more popular and justify the immense cost that it's going to have?
Yeah, like with any technology solution, you please talk to us about, you know, gathering user requirements, and then to drive adoption when there are other options like Facebook.
So for the app, what I imagine is it can start off as a student project. I've actually contacted and talked to a bunch of my Bucks and computer science friends, and they told me it's possible. It's possible for a team of students to come together and do the project together. And so with a team of 4 and 5, or like at least there's more than one person, so then you'll be able to bounce off ideas to contribute together and work together for this project that would not cost a lot. And so that's what brings the cost side. What was the other question? Right, as effective. So I know that Facebook is free right now, but Facebook is not for everyone. There's lots of people out there who barely uses Facebook, and we need to target those people too. So another better form of marketing could be an app, because everyone has, a large majority of the people have cell phones, and so on cell phones you use the app all the time. And so in the app, what I'm imagining is it's going to be really, really cool. So there's going to be a news feed, and that could be news regarding CUS. There could be things that the senator writes, and then there could be a calendar of events, and then other features that goes on with it. And the other section could be contacts, and under contacts, with all the CUS members' contact information, there could also be an ombudsperson's corner, so that people who directly want to chat with the ombudsperson but doesn't have time to go to their office, or maybe they're internet on Exchange, they can still do the same. And so this app would bring in lots of people to use it, because it's fairly accessible and it's easy and it's going to be free for students. Thank you.
Yeah.
So have you surveyed students and whether or not they would like to use this app?
I have not. I've surveyed some people, but not a large group of students. But I just want to say that it's only an idea right now, and I'm still brainstorming on it, and I would love feedback if any of you guys have them. Thank you.
Sam.
So this topic wasn't talked about as much, but I'm referring to structural problems with CUS. So what do you think has been the biggest issue over the past few years with CUS, and how does your approach explicitly target that and try to fix that?
Okay. So one thing during in my mission is to redefine leadership. I want the CUS to not only rely on one person, which is the president, to be the one that solves all the problems. I want this to be a team effort. So me and the board, or whoever is the president and the board, and the people involved work together, do this, help out each other. Does that answer your question, Sam? Okay. Let me know if you have more.
So Sam talked about issues within the CUS currently that has been persistent historically, right? And how my platform or mission targets that. Biggest issue? Yeah, the biggest issue is, I kind of touched upon it before, it's the lack of continuity. It's really hard to do that when everybody has to move on next year. And so for me, a part of what I believe in terms of building culture and community is working with UGO and BCC and faculty, and also the administrators, the deans as well, so that we can create like a united front for students and pull our resources together to help students feel like there's more of a unison. And rather than just like, oh, you go to the BCC for an info session, but then also a club has a workshop info session or an office tour as well. Why not pull these things together? And I've spoken to Linda Gully, I've spoken to people on the faculty as well about these issues. I think it's really interesting and cool to do that, like provide a united front. And in addition to that, in continuity, I also talked about data. The BCC currently has some survey data. We have asked students about their student experience, but it's been in ways that have been like Google Forms, which is really hard to track and maintain. But working with the BCC, implementing a question, our question regarding student experience into their questionnaire could be really helpful. And it could also provide, what I said before, continued growth even when this year we all have to leave and we all graduate and the new board comes in.
Yeah, I think Daphne pretty much hit the nail on the head with the continuity theme. I think under that, though, we can break it down into 3 other points as well, which is the knowledge transfer of that continuity aspect, our strategic direction, as well as the financial sustainability of the organization. So with the knowledge transfer, something I'd like to do on my platform is standardize HR transition documents and make sure that all the key parts of each role are accounted for year after year. Key role, key aspects of the role, key contacts, key credentials, proposed timelines of the role, and things that the chair can draft up within the first year and have that passed down year to year and updated as time goes on. With the strategic direction, it's difficult because we have almost 100% turnover every year. But hopefully with the internal audit committee, I'm sure like if you've read the portion of my platform about that as well, the set of deliverables that would come out of that committee every single year would be a set of tangible recommendations that can be approved by the outgoing board this year through a vote of simple majority, and also passed down to the next year's board for implementation or to test out for whatever they please, and to be altered year after year based on the proposed direction that has been passed through, almost like a general transition report for the whole organization as well. With the financial sustainability aspect, I really want to reform the corporate relations team so that we're increasing our CR efforts and really reducing the dependency on our budget as well. Our services really have the capability to really step up that CR game and be able to do that, but in order for them to do so, I do think that we need to step it up with our CR team to be able to build those capacities and offer those opportunities to give our services CR teams the tools that they need in order for them to accomplish those efforts as well. So, yeah, continuity.
So we're going to take one more question. Sam, do you
Yes, follow up.
Jennifer, and then, oh my gosh, okay, 3 more questions. So 1, 2, and 3. Sorry, guys. And then I have one more online. Okay.
Great job, ladies. I know that, project loud, yeah, pretty loud. So I know that there's been a lot of talk about budgets and finances and like an internal audit committee now, and I know a lot of students in Sutter are expressing some concerns over kind of changing the budget, especially for services and clubs. And so I was just wondering if you could elaborate or justify what makes a budget cut like acceptable for, let's say, smaller services where like $100 could make or break the service versus like another big conference or club or service where like $100 that you take away like their snack fund or something like that, and how you can justify that without going into the service or club and really getting to know what they do.
I'm going to start us off with a history lesson. So the year before when Vanessa was president, we actually, if you look at our budget, we have a huge surplus. And historically, the reasons why behind that is because we've been really conservative with our budget. And so in Vanessa's year, she tried to reduce that surplus by spending a lot. And this year, Jen and Matt Anderson, who resigned, they worked together to kind of decrease that, because you can't justify that big spending year after year. There was one reason why they did it, and it was for a just cause. But this year, they've been working. Jennifer and Matt have been working really hard to cut that. But as a result, a lot of clubs and services and conferences didn't know the reasons why there was a budget cut. And in order to deal with that, I think it's really important for us to, like all the clubs, services, and conferences, to come together to build a matrix for funding budgets. And in particular for me, I'm concerned about the special projects funding. If you guys didn't know, that SPF funding is for special projects that come up throughout the year. We allocate a lot of money to that. And for me, funding and supporting the conferences and services and clubs that I was talking about before was taking that money from the SPF and allocating it to conferences that have historically expect to come in. Conferences like Sutter Summit and conferences like Gateways too. And so that in the beginning of the year, everything, like there's a base budget sorted out so that they feel prepared to book hotels, and they feel prepared that they have at least that base budget so that it's not make it or break it for everyone. And so for that, everybody to come together early in the year to figure this all out, so that there's no confusion and that there's no feeling of unjust because, oh, why wasn't there money to fund my thing when there's money to do their thing when they asked for SPF funding in the beginning of the term?
I think communication is definitely important, so then the CUS budget committee will try their best to understand what the student needs and in order to support them. But my stance for the SPF funding is different from Daphne's. I think in order to foster an environment of support and collaboration and innovation and creativity, we need more SPF funding. And I know that this year it was cut a lot. So then even bringing it back up a little bit, I think would help the students who have new ideas and want to pitch them to Sutter.
Sorry, could you repeat your question a little bit?
I was just wondering if you could elaborate on the process that you would take in order to determine which services would be using amounts and how you could justify that, given that it's a small club or service where they need that money versus another big like conference or something where like losing a little bit doesn't make a big, it's not as big of an impact.
Right. I do think that the size of the event does matter. For example, a bigger conference is a bigger conference with more needs, for example, or more students that they're serving, so they might need, for example, a larger budget. But what I will say is that every single year when we do budget for our services, we go through zero-based budgeting, and that means that we start with absolutely zero, and we have the chairs work out what it is exactly that they need. And then it's budget committee's prerogative to determine whether that expense itself, which is voted upon individually line by line throughout budget committee meeting, it's their prerogative to determine if that expense itself is essential or not to the operations of the service, and then deciding whether or not to cut that. The other part that I wanted to address was, sorry, what was the second part of your question? You had like an extra.
Oh, it's just like how can you justify cutting like the budget committee if you haven't actually they don't actually know what the service does or don't know what the club does.
Great. And definitely, so for clubs, I guess I'll address it in terms of clubs and services. So for clubs, it's not, for clubs who have CUS affiliated club status, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that once you get CUS affiliated club status, the amount of money you get is fixed. So you get $600 up front, and then you get $3 per head, and that was increased from $2 per head for each CUS fee-paying member that you have in your club, and that's always the way it has been. And then for services as well, it's our jobs. It's our jobs as VPs to know like what our services are doing, and it's our job to talk to the previous chair as well to understand what's essential and what's not, so that during budget committee, for example, we can be informed enough to make those decisions.
Okay, sorry. Can I add on a little bit?
Sorry, guys. Okay, so we're gonna give you guys 45 seconds to answer the next question since I know everybody's like super hungry and.
Well, I think all of you have some really great ideas and platforms, and the year looks very bright. I've been at that stage too, and throughout the year, you might not be able to complete necessarily everything, or you might try to, and so at the end of the day, you have a team, and so what does success look like to you? If you could just share a little quickly. Quickly, so people are a big part of my vision, and for me, success isn't necessarily about like the exact data that we have. That's also important, but it's to see that people who came in with the exact things that they want to accomplish, whether that be board or exec, those things actually get accomplished, and they feel like they were supported by me, hopefully the president.
I feel like everyone has different definition of success, but my definition of success is a more close-knit community. I want everyone to be happy in this community, a feeling that, or the majority of people who take part in this community to feel that they found their family or their friends here. And this could be done so through the quality of the events, with getting a larger reach, as I mentioned before, and just, I just want everyone to be happy. Thank you. I'll hug you too.
I think success for me is defined by the feeling that everyone has, sort of like when you leave something or you finish something, that sort of taste in your mouth is positive, then I think for me that's successful. And I do think that if I have the opportunity to be elected to do that, I'll do my best to try to understand what everyone wants out of their roles to begin with, so that I can hopefully support them through that process.
Okay, so last question goes to
Daniel, because he's been waiting on the stream all night. So Daniel, here's your question. Given that a lot of services and clubs operate mainly during the school year, what actions would you take to recognize efforts of clubs and conferences who put in work all year long, for example, in the summer?
I can tell that this is from the accounting club president, because accounting club has they do a lot of things in the summer because a lot of recruitment happens in the summer. And I've spoken to Saxon also about this as well, and Daniel about this as well. And I think it's really important for us to recognize them in the future by really understanding what clubs want and what clubs need and what they're about, not just about like what their mission is for the year, but also what their specialization is, such as clubs like accounting club, BizTech, and also finance club and marketing, UDCMA as well. It's really just understanding what these clubs are about.
I feel like through lots of social media or services and stuff, we can definitely recognize the efforts that put into these clubs and events that happen throughout the summer. Like Daphne said, the accounting club happens, but we don't necessarily hear about it as students. But if it's live streamed, or not necessarily live streamed, if it's streamed through Snapchat or like other services, or if it's promoted to a greater amount of people, then recognition will be there, and the CUS will do their best to support these. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel, for bringing that up, actually, because it's something that I didn't initially think about. I think that we need to be more tailored in our approach to supporting clubs as well affiliated with us, and we do give them money all the time, but honestly, I think it would be really nice in the future to sit down with those club presidents, and for example, Daniel, whoever comes after you for UBCAC as well, and really understand like what it is that you would like to have from us this year so that we can deliver on that. Awesome. Okay, can you guys just bear with me really quick? So we're gonna do another raffle, but first we're gonna give 2 more tickets to anybody who can share our Facebook voting page. So CUS elections voting page, voting period, and then come up and show me, and then we're gonna do the draw. Yeah, you guys can do it as well, the candidates. Rishab, can you give him? Nice. Anybody else? One more person? Okay, we're gonna do the draw then. Is anybody else posting? For sharing? No. I was just texting on the phone. Okay. I know you guys want pizza, so I'll keep it short. Okay. Oh yeah. Perfect. Oh, the voting. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I think it was okay. Okay. This is gonna be for the $25 gift card to Starbucks. 712512. 712512. Okay, this is for the $50 Lululemon gift card. Can I have a drum roll, please? Okay. 7, 1, 2, 5, 2, 6.
Who wants it? Who wants it? Who wants it? Come on.
7, 1, 2, 5, 2, 6. May have been Shobit, but he left. Okay. 7, 1, 2, 5, 1, 5. Okay, thanks guys. Okay, so thanks for everybody for coming out. I just wanted to give a big shout out to the elections team. So Henry, Vice Chair, Bishop, Treasurer, and Lord Promotion Director. And thank you to everybody who came out today. You guys can go get some pizza now. I know! You just thank you to everybody who's on the stream. Yes, guys, we're gonna end it now.